Hello, everyone, and welcome to another podcast, Authentic Conversations with Adele, me, your host. And I'm happy you're here, and we're going to have a wonderful conversation. But I first want to start off by saying if you want to learn more about transition clarity and the work I do with the men, and it's all about finding their authentic heart, their authentic self, and the gifts they have to share with the world. Please check out the show notes to get a hold of me. Whether it's a single session you want to join the upcoming membership starting in 2026 or the 8-week men's course. It's all about the men rising in their feminine, in their hearts, letting go of the day to day pressures and being more aligned to the essence of who they are. So, now let's get into who we're going to have as a guest today. My guest today is Emma Collyer, and she is the owner and principal coach of Aspire Executive Coaching, where she helps leaders turn everyday interactions into powerful two-way conversations that spark trust, creativity, and results. Known for her down to earth approach and energy in the room, she transforms tough talks into growth moments that brings teams closer together. A certified ICF ACC coach and emotional intelligence practitioner based in Canada, Emma works with leaders around the world, helping them communicate with clarity, lead with empathy, and enjoy the ride along the way. And with that, let's go welcome Emma. Emma, welcome to the show. I'm so happy you could be with us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So let's, like, as I said, I've done your introduction, but I want the audience to hear your introduction of who's Emma and how did she end up becoming the owner and the coach that you are today.
Yeah, I guess try not to make it too long here,
Yeah.
but I guess the potted history. I started my career as a landscape architect, and I worked in the environmental sector for most of my career. So things like environmental impact assessment work, project management. Worked a lot with engineers and worked in England for most of my career and working on a lot of flood risk projects, would you believe it? So that's kind of my background. And during my time over there, I had the opportunity to be coached. And that spurred my interest in coaching. So I'd not really heard of it before. And it was so powerful, that initial experience. It was so different to anything I'd had before in terms of training, development, that it really piqued my curiosity. And so when I was presented with an opportunity to train as a coach internally, I grabbed it. And that kind of started my journey in coaching others and learning the skill and, yeah, just growing into that. And we moved to Canada in 2018. I worked in the environmental sector for a short period for a conservation authority here in
Mm-hmm.
Ontario, and then really wanted to make that move into coaching. And so then set my own business up and moved into that full time. But I predominantly work with people that resonate with my background. So a lot of my clients are engineers, architects, environmental specialists, sustainability specialists, project managers in that space,
Okay.
because the experiences I talk about are familiar. So
Mm-hmm.
that's my journey, I guess, to where I am today.
Well, I understand the space in a way because I've worked with a lot of engineers, even though I'm not an engineer. And people always ask me, how do you relate to them? And I'm like, they're numbers, talking numbers, and they get it.
Yeah.
Talking abstract, and it's like, what are you talking about,
Yes.
right? And yeah, and so it helps. It comes in very handy for the work I do with men because they're like, you know, they need to be talked in their language or it goes over their
Yes.
head. And it's not that they're stupid; they're very smart people.
Yeah.
They just got to find their language. And it's no different than talking to a child. You can't talk at a PhD level to a kindergartner. They're going to go, Mommy, what are you talking about? Right? Like they don't get it.
For
So,
sure.
and I think um, your timing to switch over was divine because you didn't have to worry about like a new country, a new this, and you're like, I can work anywhere, right?
Yes. Yeah.
I'm not going to a job anymore because you're not allowed to, anyways. But yet, all those people that were in those jobs are now floundering
Yes.
and
It's
looking
so,
for support.
yeah, I guess that's one area of my work that I do a lot of career coaching as well. And so I have people come to me who are maybe just looking to get promoted and needing a bit of
Mm-hmm.
support with navigating that. There's maybe some hurdles that are stopping them, but also people are like, I've got 10 years left of my career. I don't know what to do with it. I want to leave, it's almost, I want to leave a legacy, or I want to feel really
Mm-hmm.
satisfied with what I'm doing. And it's maybe the first time they've had a look around and almost gone, oh, I'm here. How did I get here?
Mm-hmm.
And they're now trying to decide how to spend the remaining time of their career as well. So I do a bit of work with individuals on helping them to find that clarity and direction
Mm-hmm.
of how they spend their time, because they have some fantastic skills and it's just trying to channel that.
And are you finding your clients are making it to the proverbial retirement age, or they're getting phased out?
A combination.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've had a couple of clients, unfortunately, that have been phased out, using your terminology there. So, and then are looking for alternate ways of bringing in income, whether that's consulting work or something else.
Mm-hmm.
But others are choosing to either move employer or work for themselves or do something else on the side
Mm-hmm.
to keep that interest going and maybe pursue things that they've not had the time or the energy to pursue before.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I'm finding that too is like, especially engineer, and they're going,
Mm,
but I can't just be at home. And I go, what were you
no.
before you went to university? Right? And they go,
Yes.
oh, I used to play in a band. I go, how can you reignite that music, that passion,
Yeah.
right? Because it's still the same math. Like, and they're like, what?
Yeah.
And I go, start a band. I'm not saying it's going to replace your income, but it'll get the juices going for that self expression,
Mm,
right?
creativeness. Yeah.
Well, yeah, because like that's what happens to most of us when we go and get the job. We're too tired to come home and play the instrument or to
So
paint the
true.
painting or to
Yes.
go run 10 miles or whatever is that thing for you, right?
Hmm.
Because you're getting food on the table, you're checking what the kids are doing, you got, your mother or your father to go check on you, get right? It's like all these different um what I call the have tos that I don't want to have the have tos. It's
Mm,
the things that need to get done, but they get done faster and better when you're in your joy,
yeah.
right? And so when you look at some of your clients who are coming to you, are they happy to look for a new prospect? Or are they waking up to going, I wasn't really happy there anyways. This was a godsend.
Yeah, I think usually when they're coming to me, there's a pain point, I'm going to say. So there's a realization that either I'm not happy here, or I'm happy here if something happens, like a promotion or something else. So it's trying to understand, is are they really tied to that organization and what they're doing,
Hmm.
or is something else going to be better for them, better suited, more exciting again? Because often that change is re-energizing for people a lot of the time.
Hmm.
And so I think it's just trying to navigate that a little bit and understand their unique priorities and help them along that journey of kind of exploration.
Well, and I heard a saying, well, not a saying, but someone told someone I know, like, because they're in the crux of, do I change jobs? Do I stay? Whatever. And they said, this person doesn't like change, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like the response he got from um, people he respected in the field and in the industry said, so you're a person who doesn't like change. And he's like, yeah. So either way, either job, either company, you have to change. He's like, yeah. Right. And he's kind of figuring out, well, where am I going with this? Right. And they said, if you have to change anyways, why don't you try a new company? Because you're a little bit frustrated that they haven't done anything in the old company yet.
Yeah.
And it was like, light bulb moment. I have to change anyways. Let's try a different pasture.
Mm, for sure.
Right. And so, yeah. And I thought that was brilliant at how his mentors had said it because they knew, like, he's not a person for change.
Yeah.
But why not change pastures? You're still working the same job, technically,
Yes.
the same, I like engineer to engineer to engineer, but this pasture is more green. This one's kind of browning off, right?
Yeah, and I don't know, if you find as well with the clients you deal with, but something that often comes up as a theme is they've maybe been promised something, and so they've been hanging
Oh,
on. I've been in this situation before, but oh, if next year we'll promote you, next year or 6 months time, and so the individual has been waiting for something to happen for so long, and
that's the brown grass
it's kind of
growing.
dangling the carrot and it never really
Yeah,
happens. And so that
yeah,
frustration builds. So it's like almost this, do I wait? And it might happen. It's like if it's not happened, it's not probably going to happen. So
yeah.
yeah, it's a
Well,
difficult
and
thing.
it's interesting because I've seen through the years of like, well, they said we're gonna have a meeting and said that, and I go, how many times are you gonna believe the lie that they're trying to send out? Well, why do you say it's a lie? And I go, because companies who want something, they do it.
Mm,
They don't string you along. They don't
no,
tell you, well, I got to have this meeting and that meeting. Yes, it might happen, but they wouldn't have said that might happen until they've had those meetings, right? And it's just like if you're dating, well, maybe they're not that into you if they're not returning your calls.
yeah.
Because either side will answer their call. If they can't answer, we'll text you. I'll call you back in 20 minutes. If you're getting no response, they're not that into you. And companies are the same way, but it's like
Hmm.
I find we get blinders on because we want the outcome of what they dangled the carrot, that we're not seeing the reality of this is never happening. And then they get the shock of not only did the promotion didn't happen, they got let go. I've seen
Yes.
that over and over again too.
Yeah.
And you're like, kind of saw it coming. And they go, how? And I'm like, read the room, right? It's not what people are saying, it's how they're acting and presenting that is the true answer,
Hmm.
right?
It's really interesting. Yeah. And like you say, when you're in that situation, you want to believe what's being said to you,
Hmm.
because you were like, oh, they want me. They've told me they want me and they want me to do this role. So I'm just going to believe that and
Hmm.
continue with it. And maybe
Yeah.
the person saying that believes that it could happen. But often in as you said, it's like, yeah, not really.
Yeah.
They're not, they would have done it if they were going to do it.
Yeah. Because as soon as something comes with, well, in 3 months, we'll get you that job, and it has no paperwork with it, it's false hope.
Mm.
They're trying to figure out what to do with you, and they have no idea. And like, it's, for anyone listening to this, like, I don't want to burst people's bubbles or make it sound bleak, but it's just the reality of what it is, you know. And but that doesn't mean a different company or a different division wouldn't love you to come work with them. Like, here's a prime example. When I was still working in oil and gas, there was a project manager who really wanted to get on the team I was working on. And he was like, "Well, our interview's happening." And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Well, I didn't get called for one." I'm like, "Oh, okay." Right. And so I went through the resumes and I'm like, "Because you don't match the team." If I couldn't say that, it's not my
Yeah.
place to say that. So I went into the hiring boss and I said, this person really wants an interview and he doesn't understand why he wasn't selected. I said, my opinion, he doesn't suit the team. What's your call? He goes, I'll meet with him, right? As a courtesy.
Hmm.
And after, he said to both of us, I don't match your team. He goes, well, thanks for the interview. But he had to come to the realization, and so
Yes.
I was very glad that, like, he came to me and said it. I'm glad I went to the hiring manager and said, what do you think? And he gave him the time, because he was also an inside applicant, right? And you always give
Yes.
them the benefit of the doubt before outside. And so it was really cool that we're all on the same page. You don't fit. And they go away
Yeah.
happier, rather than
Yeah.
they got dismissed. Like, how come I got dismissed? And they go all in their heads of like this stupid thing. And it's like, no.
Yeah. You can do something with that. It's
Mm-hmm.
like you can close that piece down. It's like, okay, I didn't have the right skills or the technical background or
Yeah.
whatever it is for that role, and I can move on now. But when
Mm-hmm.
you're kind of hanging in there, it doesn't go away.
And I know I've been there. I'm like, stupid computers, you're kicking me out before you get to know my personality,
Mm.
right? My
Yeah.
personality can only win over so much. If I'm not a match, I'm not a match,
Yeah.
you know?
It's a tough process.
Yeah. So, what was it that just like lit up your brain to say, ooh, this coaching thing's cool? Like, what made you take that first step to even go to a coach?
So I'm trying to think way back when I asked for a coach, and and I had them at various points, but usually there was either a problem that I just didn't know how to handle, often in communication or dealing with a colleague or team or whatever. Or there was kind of like a career pathway that I just was struggling to navigate and I didn't know what to do. And I felt like I'd done everything and things still weren't gelling or wasn't happening.
Yeah.
It's like, what am I doing? I'm doing everything that I've been told to do and nothing's working. So it's at those points where I'm like, okay, I need somebody to talk through this with and to provide that sounding board, to come up with different ideas, just to give a different perspective on
Mm-hmm.
things because I was so focused on this one, at each time, very narrow in on this is how I see the world.
Mm-hmm.
And you just need someone else to go, yeah, maybe look at it this way.
Yeah.
Or the person, if it's about a person you're dealing with, they could see it from this perspective. And how does that change how you feel about the situation? And so just having somebody else to talk through some of that was so helpful. I mean, that understates it hugely. It was significant each time
Mm-hmm.
because at each point I was like, I don't know what to do. I am like literally banging my head against a wall now. And coaching each time was able to unlock that and move me forward. Whereas I would have still been cycling around the same issue for months,
So,
even years, some things.
for people who are listening, How does a paid or unpaid coach help you different than going to your husband or your best friend to help you in these situations?
Yeah, it's interesting. So I think they are impartial. So that's the first thing. So your friend and your husband, partner, whatever, they're not impartial. They want the best for you, but they're often going to say, yeah, you're doing all the right things. Carry on. Whereas a coach is likely more to say, hey, have you thought about it from this perspective? Or
Yeah.
what could really be going on here?
Hmm.
Or what other things have you thought about? And so it just gets you to think in a different way.
Well, and I think um, they also, besides being impartial, they're arm's length away, but they also have, especially if you're getting a coach for business in business and they know your business,
Mm,
they just have way more arrows that can go, okay, well, we see that you have your dot here, but the bullseye is actually here. And you're like, what?
yeah.
What are you talking about? No, the bullseye's here. And they're going, well, okay, but let's see if it's over here, what would happen? And then all of a sudden you're like, huh, I was looking at the wrong bullseye,
Mm,
right? And then all of a sudden like everything starts changing and you're like the focus changes as you start heading towards the right bullseye. And then all of a sudden all these answers show up and you're like, where were these when I've been struggling for 2 months? But
yeah.
I also look at it as what a blessing. You figure it out in 2 months instead of 2 years, right? Or you didn't leave the job because you had the wrong bullseye,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because I used to say when I did hiring and stuff, I said, remember what your old boss was like, and if you haven't changed, your new boss is going to be the same thing. And they'd be like, what? I go, it's you. It's not the. It's never the boss. You are the mirror for the boss to show you what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
So if you think you had a crappy boss, they never heard you, they never whatever, and you go to the next job, they said within 3 months you're gonna say that boss is crappy and never lets you speak and never hears you because it's you. It's not them.
The mirror is powerful.
Hmm. And no one wants to see it.
No.
But
I think
it's
as the accountability piece as well for me is huge. I've used a coach recently with my business, and just that, again, soundboard of things that I could be doing, working on. But I know I'm going to be meeting with that coach again in 2 weeks' time or a month's time, and the coach is going to ask me, so what have you done? What have you moved forward? And so I know I'm like, I have to move these things forward. I can't just sit on them. I think if we deal with them ourselves, often there's a tendency to go, oh, I'll do that in a few weeks, or I'll maybe get around to that at some point. But we're not building that momentum. And so I think coaching allows us to build that momentum, focus on the goal that you talked about. It's like, this is the goal, let's move towards it. These are the things I need to do.
mm-hmm,
And I think when we don't have that, we can just spend a lot of time procrastinating, focusing energy on the wrong things,
mm-hmm.
and not really getting to where we could do.
And it's also if someone tends to be a procrastinator, um, the coach should say you're wasting both of our times if you're waiting till the last
Mm,
48 hours to get the month's worth of work done because you're not doing it on a weekly, daily basis to see the growth of momentum. So when you get with the coach again, you can go to the next level or 2 levels up where you're staying stagnant because you're like
mm,
rushing it to get it done for the coach rather than getting the momentum in your um, cycle.
yeah,
And
that's a
that's
great
very
point.
important,
Mm-hmm.
because um, coaches aren't cheap
No.
and the good ones will fire their clients because if you like I've never met a coach that's only there for the money. If they are, they shouldn't be coaching, in my opinion. It's only my opinion, my humble opinion, because it's no good to keep on taking somebody's money if they're floundering. You haven't helped them with why they're floundering,
Yes,
right?
it's not moved anything forwards.
Yeah. So if you hire a coach saying I'm a procrastinator, I'm like the 11th hour Nelly, like it's like, okay, so if you don't break those cycles in the coaching, is that coach really coaching you,
Mm,
right? And it's
yeah.
also, he might this person might be a fantastic coach. This is the right coach for you. Maybe, maybe not, right? Like I say, I coach men. All men? No. Because if you don't align with me, I'll tell you right up. I don't align with you. It might be a timing thing, it might be an forever thing. I'm not sure. But right now, you're not a fit. But we can check in 3 months. Maybe go and do some work and figure out what's going on. Come back. Okay, now you're ready to take my program.
Mm,
But I'm not going to put them through the program if they're not a fit because that's 1,000 times more work on me and they won't do the work anyways. And it disrupts the class
yes.
because they'll say you spend 90% of our time with Joe and Joe's not doing his work.
Mm,
We want our money back. And I'm like, hmm. So, Joe, instead of coming in this session, I'll give you some homework. We'll reevaluate if you're ready for the next session. And maybe I'm not your coach, but here's some people that might be, or a combination or whatever, right? Like,
yeah.
um, I was just on a networking call this morning with a salesperson, and she says the pain point isn't in 2026. That's passe. Coaching is becoming about action.
Mm.
And I'm like, yeah, here's your homework. Do your work. We'll meet next week, right? If you're not willing to do your homework, especially with my stuff, because mine's all about the inner journey,
Hmm.
about them finding their authentic self. I can tell them who they are, but if they don't believe it, it's like blowing smoke up your butt. They have to come to the realization of who they are, that they're worthy, that they're not broken, that they are amazing people, even if the people around them don't understand it, right?
Yeah.
What just opened up for you? I see it.
Well, I know I was just reflecting on, I guess, chemistry calls, if you call them, and those moments where you're like, "Yep, no, this is not going to work." I can recall an individual, we just were not fit,
Mm-hmm.
and you know immediately that
Mm-hmm.
person needs somebody else to support them. That is not going to be me. I don't gel with them. Whereas others, you can have a great conversation. Absolutely, I can support them. These are the things I can do. I guess the other thing that I've seen a bit more recently, and I'm not sure if it's just the climate that we're in right now, but wanting more guidance than coaching.
Yeah.
Tell me what to do. It's not really coaching, but okay, here's some options. So I'm
Well,
seeing a bit more of that.
if someone's asking you, what do I do? They're not willing to do the work. We can't tell them what to do,
No.
right? And if I've known anything about the year we're going into, is yes, coaching's important. It's coaching with them to do the inner work before they come to the next coaching club, or they're going to be stagnant, or they're going to go spinning
Yeah.
down that rabbit hole. And, um, like for instance, there's a gentleman that I've been following. a year and a half. We meet every week in a networking environment, and it was funny watching like his reactions to things and whatever. But we finally had our one on one, and he apologized for taking so long. And I said, "You weren't ready. Let it go." He goes, "What?" And I go, "You weren't ready. Let it go. You had to process stuff in your own life. You had to process stuff like, what where do you want to go forward with?" And I said, "And now you're ready. We're having our call. It is all good." But I just watched him through the
Mm,
time, right? Like, I saw that he was struggling. I saw that, my course could help him. Not forcing. Because
yes.
if you force, it comes back to you.
Yeah.
And then you get blamed. And you're like, that didn't work. Right? It's like the employee blaming their boss for everything.
Yeah.
Four fingers pointing back at you.
Timing is everything.
hmm Well, and it's funny because I had a boss one time and people are like, "How do you handle him?" And I go, "Oh, the commander? No problem." They go, "But how?" And I go, "He likes to command. I don't follow." Right? And so at one point I even phoned his wife at home and I said, "Can you send these three shirts with him to work that he can leave here?" Why? He just needs them. And then he'd come in with his red commander shirt on and I'm like, "You're not going to the meeting dressed like that." And he's like, "Why not?" I said, "Because you're screaming at down the hall before you get in the room." I go, "Just trust me." And would change his shirt. He'd go to the meeting. He goes, "I don't know what voodoo you're doing on me, but I think it worked." I go, "You're welcome."
Sounds like a good win.
Well, yeah, because it's like there's a reason why you don't wear a red shirt to an interview,
Mm,
male or female, because you're screaming at them. It's a hot color. It's fire, right? So you might think you're calm and collected, and they're seeing you're a volcano in front of them. We can't hire you. How can we work with a volcano,
yeah. Very
right?
true.
And there's a whole psychology on this, of what to wear, not to wear, like, how to transmute it, right? And if you're already a hot tempered person, don't wear red outside. And if you do wear red, a tie is okay, or like a splash somewhere. Yeah. Yeah. No, it's fascinating.
Mm.
And the
Colours.
fact that we're just both in our blue of communication, lovely to have this podcast. And we didn't even plan it. Like we're just in tuned.
That's perfect.
Yeah. So where do you see taking your clients going forward? Like how do you see 26, 27 unfolding?
Yeah, I think continuing with a lot of kind of training and coaching around communication skills in particular. So I'm doing a lot around feedback, giving and receiving feedback. That's a big area that I've been working on over the last year.
hmm
Um, I think the career coaching is not going to go away. So I think there's still a demand and continues to be demand for that, whether it's people who have been laid off and are looking for support getting back into role, or somebody looking, as we were talking, transitioning to something else.
hmm
So I think there's definitely a need there. And then, notwithstanding, I must say, the regular kind of exec coaching, I would call it, people who are just generally looking to improve and get better at what they do as
hmm
leaders. And so those are the kind of three main areas that I see my work evolving over the next year, even more so.
Very cool. Well, and I think like I'm gonna put you in my same age group. We had 7 careers, right?
Okay.
They said we've had 7 careers. Like, I mean, it could have been starting like just as, working at the sales clerk or whatever, right? The generations coming up now, they figure can have up to 25 careers
Wow.
because that's how fast things are changing. So the days of our parents and grandparents is gone. That you take one job, you stay there your whole life, and then you die. Then we came along and they thought we were crazy by having 7 careers. Some had more, right? And I'm like, you think about having a career of even 15 careers, not even what they're saying. Are they just learning on the job and going, "Oh, I can do so much more,"
Mm.
and doing it? Or are they going to school for all of this? Or are they self-taught because working's boring and they want to be nomads around the world?
Yeah, interesting to see which direction it goes in. I think, I have two sons. One is kind of university, and one's about to go to university, and they're both kind of questioning why are we doing this? Because I think we should. Well, my eldest is has his own business now as well, and so the argument for education is a bit more of a struggle now because the value isn't as it was. And to your point of, well, I can start my career now, I can start earning money, I can do this and it's on my terms.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's pretty appealing. Why would you want to go and get all this education when you might have to then switch and do something else, or it becomes irrelevant by the time you've finished it?
Mm-hmm.
That's what some of the students are facing right now. It's like,
Well, and I've heard a lot of people like Steve Harvey, Gary V. Um, can't think of other ones, but for sure those two. Whatever the parents were going to give them for university tuition, give them to go bugger off for 6 months.
mm,
Go travel, go do whatever. Then they'll come back. And then, like, then they know that they're on their own for university if they decide to go to university because they've used the money to bugger off. But they could also do it very cheap and house sit around the world or whatever, right? And it's fascinating seeing these kids go, well, I'm not saying no to university. I'm just not saying yes right now.
mm,
But ultimately, everyone says whether you go to university or not, you are always a learner. You're
yeah.
picking up books, you're picking up courses, you're picking up whatever, because when you stop learning, then you're done, right? And yeah, like I questioned not going straight from high school into university, but I did end up going back later.
Mm.
But I still don't use anything of my degrees.
Me neither. I did landscape architecture. I do not use that anymore.
But
It's
you
like
did for
that.
a long time.
I did, yeah, I did beginning of my career, and then kind of, yeah, it became less useful as I progressed.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's an interesting space.
Well, and it's funny because I know someone in Vancouver who was uh, environmental architecture from Germany. She was using it, and then it was like, nope. And I think now she's dabbling still a bit back into it because her knowledge is amazing,
Yeah.
right? And when cities keep on expanding, and how do you keep the forest still in the forest, like to keep you know, the the oxygen happening? Like you can't take them all down and put high rises.
No, the urban challenge.
Yeah, right. Especially in Vancouver, like it's just like, um. But yeah, so it's just it's interesting. But but then I also have friends who have kids like around your kids' ages, and I'm like, that's fine to have a gap year, but you're not sitting around.
No.
Like I don't care if it's building a business, I don't care. Like you're not sitting around. And they're like, "Whoa!" And I go, "I know Daddy wants to pay for everything, but Daddy's gonna be told no." Like, right? Because it doesn't teach them anything.
No, no.
I'm not saying parents aren't there to help and support and love on you, but if they just hand you everything and then all of a sudden, like, what if they're not there one day? I don't know how to budget. I don't know how to pay bills. I don't like. I don't know. I just have a credit card to put gas on. Mm-mm.
Mm.
No go. No go.
Yeah, it's finding a direction and deciding what to do that's gonna, be able to pay for things so you can have some kind of standard of living, whatever that looks like, and
Hmm.
it's something that you can gain skill in and train in.
Well, and I was listening to the podcast with Chris Hemsworth on purpose, and I guess both sides of his family have both markers for dementia and Alzheimer's on his mom's and his dad's side, and him and his brothers have all tested, and they're like both got both markers. It's not guaranteed that they'll get it, but they're more likely, right? And he just did a documentary with his dad, asking all the questions, right? And they said, like, by the end of the filming, it was like his dad didn't have dementia in a different way because he had such a purpose to get
Mm.
up, to come to set, to answer questions, to, right? And, and, so many people have said to him, "Thank you for doing this because we wish we would have done this before our parents left." So it's getting the conversation going,
Yes.
right? And I think that's what this whole podcast is about, is how are we communicating? How are we stepping up to say, "I think I need a coach. I don't know where my bullseye is." Right? Because we might be like, it's like GPS. Like last night was a prime example. I'm going, my GPS didn't recalculate that I went a different way. And so it put my last stop first and dropped my first stop.
Okay.
So I pulled over and I said, "My GPS killed your address." And she's like, "What?" I go, "Direct me to your house." But it's really close. I just couldn't get quite there. Right?
Yeah.
And it kind of bugged me. And I'm like, "Why did it do that?" And I'm like, "Oh, because it didn't recalculate. I took a different road and it said, okay, yeah." So, and
It's
that's what
finding
we
the
got to
right way.
do. It's like if we get
Yeah.
so used to the GPS, we forget to use our own brains.
Mm.
And there's scientific study that your kids and under that age group, if they got lost, they cannot read a map.
I can believe that.
Yeah, like they just did not get the brain connection to read maps.
Hmm.
Couldn't load a camera with film,
No.
right? And I'm like, "Oh, that's interesting." And I don't know if you're Canadian enough to realize like we're the most mathematically challenged country, because
Okay.
depending on who we're talking to, we're feet and miles or
Okay.
inches and kilometers. And they
Imperial and metric.
intertwine in the same sentence.
Yeah.
Yeah, our lovely Americans. Because they're the only ones that use feet and miles, right?
Yeah. It's. I'm definitely leaning towards more metric, but I know there were a lot of measurements still historically in the UK were feet and inches, miles. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's.
Well, yeah. And me growing up in Canada, we were half and half
Mm.
and very mixed. So I
Yeah, that's
kind of don't
confusing.
really know either, right? Like, yeah, I kind of don't know either.
That's a challenge.
Yeah. And it's frustrating because I'll be
Hmm.
like, "Well, it's 5 kilometers." I know, three something miles. That's my calculation.
Yeah.
What's the real calculation? No idea. I can do the weather pretty fast because the Americans are always like, "Oh, thank you for always calculating it for us." I go, "You're welcome." Okay, because they'll be like, "Oh, it's so cold here," and I'm like, "Hmm, you're still 28 degrees warmer than we are."
Mm, it's all
Right?
relative.
Yeah. Or like when my friend in England was saying, "Oh, it's rainy and damp and just not nice." I go, "You are coming into winter in England." I know. Are you expecting any different? I don't know. It's just like me saying it's not going to be minus 20. I live in Calgary. Like, it's just a matter of when and how long.
Yes, the weather is a big deal in the UK, that's for sure.
I think it's a big deal everywhere because I remember a friend of mine said, "I'm not talking about the weather." I said, "Of course you will." No. And then his parents called from northern Alberta. "What's the weather down there?" I said, "I thought you were talking about it." And he growled at me. So, whatever. Whatever.
It happens.
So now that we've diversed, how how do you think whoever's listening to this, how do you think you can help the listener if they decide to work with you?
So, I guess two things, if they're looking for individual support, would be if you're looking to progress in your career, you want to get promotion, something along those lines,
Mm-hmm.
I can absolutely support you with that. Or even if you're looking to get back into employment and maybe you've been like unfortunately laid off, again,
Mm-hmm.
that is something that I do. And if you're an existing leader just looking to get even better at what you do,
Mm-hmm.
that's where I can step in and help. You know, there may be a few areas. I have a couple of different assessments I do with my clients to understand, you know, potential gaps or blind spots. I can help with that. So that's typically where I would come in.
And are you staying in your industry or are you open to other industries? Is it
I
is
work with
it
all industries.
okay,
So it's just those are the, I would say, the bulk of where my clients come from, but I work across all sectors.
cool. And what if they're people more like a little bit older than your kids? Are you able to help them just starting out? Like I went to university and I'm working at Tim Hortons.
I have, yes, I've had a couple of clients in that space also who really, you know, were struggling, and just a lot of it is to do with a bit of confidence in getting out there and, you know, networking, setting themselves up for success, and even just somebody to check their resume and cover letter and that kind of thing to see, is it okay? Does it need
Mm-hmm.
any changes? But yeah, absolutely can help in that space also.
Very cool. Very cool. So as we wrap up, what are a couple tips that you want to leave the listeners with?
Ooh, tips. Um, So if we're thinking about communication and feedback, which is an area that I work in a lot, I'd say if you're preparing to give somebody constructive feedback or have a conversation with them,
Mm-hmm.
think about your tone and body language. That's often forgotten. Focus on one key message rather than many things. So one thing that you want that person to take away. And if you're concerned about it coming across too aggressively, or set it up with a positive intention. So an example would be, hey, I really want to support you on this project, or I really want you to succeed with this work.
Mm-hmm.
And then go into, you know, there's just a couple of things that I would suggest or improve to make it even better. So you're kind of, the positiveness helps the rest of the message land.
Mm-hmm.
And so people receive it far better if you're explaining your positive intention in the first place, but then key then not to over complicate it and confuse it with too many things. So what's your key message? So those are some things. And then we talked about the tone and the body language as well.
Well, and I totally agree with all of them because people forget that the spoken word is only 7% of communication,
Yeah.
right? It is the tone, it is the body language, it is eye contact, right? It's reading the room, right?
Yes.
And I even take it one step further is ask if they're open for feedback. If they're not, shut it. Don't open your mouth because it won't land,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, and yeah, and being that supportive team member of, hey, just if you need some help, got any questions, I'm here to bounce things off of, right? Be that sounding board. You might be part of the project, you may not be, but sometimes you just need someone to go, eh, like my target's moving and I don't know where it is, right? And just getting that, little bit of feedback before you have to go to a full on coaching. And yeah,
Mm.
and just be open to all opportunities.
Yes, for sure.
Like this world is moving faster than we'll ever catch up to. And yeah, just staying open. With that said, thank you for coming on the show, Emma. It's been a wonderful conversation. I'm your host, Adele Bernard, with Authentic Conversations, and we hope you'll check us out. Until next time, everything will be in the show notes, and have a great day. What a great conversation with Emma, and she gave us some great insights on the communication, how to work through what happens when you do get laid off. Are you wanting to go into another job? How is your body language? Because are you turning off the interview by having the wrong tone or the wrong body language? And these are so important to remember. Even talking to your spouse or your kids, they read body language as well as how you're saying it. So if you want anyone, to truly hear you, check yourself first. And also, if you want to know more about the boy behind the man um, work that I do, all of the information will be in the show notes for both Emma and I, and would love to have a conversation with you. And like always, we'd love you to subscribe, share, comment um, on these episodes because it helps the algorithms. It helps us in who knows how because they change them all the time. But I would appreciate it. And thank you for listening. Once again, this is Adele Bernard from Authentic Conversations. And this episode was with Emma.